why this isn't.
Okay, we are just about live.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, calling to order.
One second, Mayor. I'll go.
Calling to order the Middleton Common Council. Today is August 1st, and we're going to start with roll call.
Alder Shaver.
Here.
Alder Wokus.
Here.
Alder Cole.
Here.
Mayor Kuhn.
Here.
Alder Nelson.
Here.
Alder Jackson.
Here.
Alder Hanairo.
Here.
Alder Lorman.
Here.
Alder Crow.
Here.
We're moving on to presentations, starting with the town of Springfield representatives on traffic concerns. Please come to the front and welcome. I apologize.
Started. Let him go.
Okay.
Is it on now? Yep. Hi, for those of you who don't remember me, I'm Jim Pulvermacher. I'm the chairman of the town of Springfield. I met a couple of weeks ago with your former mayor and with Brian, and I expressed some concerns we have with the new development that's going in from the land you're annexing from the town of Springfield. Because you have the Bellefontaine Parkway and everything we're showing in the plans or reading in your plans are showing that that's not going to be completed out to Parmenter Street for some time. And we're just concerned if you're going to start this development, you put 800 housing units in there, you're going to have 7,200 trips a day eventually coming out of there. If you don't have a way for them to get over to Highway 12, they're going to try and use our town road in the town of Springfield, Greenbrier Road. And so I actually met with MSA because when we had our joint meeting of our two councils and talked with them about some of the traffic concerns, and Lisa and I are setting up a meeting, for later this month again to discuss that. But that will not alleviate that. And one of the things I checked with MSA is, could Greenbrier Road even be improved enough to take the amount of traffic that would be coming? And they're telling me because of the topography, it would not. So I'm just politely here for the town of Springfield to ask that you take a serious look at that, because if you're going to start creating all those homes, they're going to need to get somewhere besides, just going down High Road, because I highly doubt everybody's going to take a left-hand turn and go down to, past the school and everything down to Century Boulevard. It's just, we're just looking at the impact. And my residents that are in our subdivisions there have a lot of concerns about all the traffic we have now for the cut-through traffic that both our town and Middleton both are getting now. And then if we start adding additional traffic, it's going to be a problem. So we're asking you politely to take a serious look at that. And if there's a way that you could get that Bellefontaine extended to Parmenter Street, it would be advantageous to everyone. So that's why we're here. We were going to send you a letter, but we thought the neighborly thing to do is just come and talk to you. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. But Brian was nice enough to send us your plan, but the timetables and stuff that are in there, there's going to be short-term impact on that. And so, I'll talk with Lisa and our group when we get together, but just don't want all that commuter traffic, and we definitely don't want the truck traffic that's going to come with the new construction. You're benefiting from it. I shouldn't have to provide the service road for your development. So that's where I'm coming from. Any questions for me? I thank you again for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for Brian for getting us on early, because we actually have a meeting yet tonight ourselves. So thank you.
Thank you for making my hiccup sound like it was on purpose. It is a joy for you guys to be here, and I appreciate that you are neighborly enough to share your insights, and I hope that we continue this conversation.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, we're going to step back to public comments. So I apologize that I missed our public comments, and for starting with Kevin Spittler.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Spittler and I live at 6848 Frank Lloyd Wright Avenue. Given the last month of dangerous air quality in a large part of North America, we learned firsthand how climate-related catastrophes thousands of miles away in Canada can seriously affect our lives in Wisconsin. In addition, the temperatures around the portion of the Keys, the Florida Keys, have been measured as high as 101 degrees. And large portions of the coral reef there will never recover. These are just two recent anecdotes. Last Thursday, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the era of global warming has ended. The era of global boiling has arrived, as he spoke about new data released from the European Union and the World Meteorological Organization. He declared that July is set to be the hottest month ever recorded, as high temperatures on all continents in the Northern Hemisphere have skyrocketed. So what can we do about it in Middleton? Well, the 2024 budget process is underway, and any proposals for new equipment that use fossil fuels should be carefully scrutinized in accordance with the sustainable purchasing policy that was passed in April. All staff should be made aware of the energy and emissions goals that were established by Resolution 2018-32, and all future city decisions should consider them. In fact, given the way things are heading globally, we should accelerate our progress. Last year, Dane County met its net zero renewable energy goal years ahead of schedule, and our goal is to shift to 100% renewable electricity by 2035. Tonight, as a community activist member of 350 Wisconsin, an international climate change organization, I'm here to urge full council support of Resolution 2023-43, which will authorize the use of general contingency funds for costs to intervene in the 2023 Madison Gas and Electric rate case, which is coming before, or is before, the Public Service Commission. And it will eliminate or greatly reduce net metering. If MG&E's submission is approved by the PSC, the changes will financially impact an estimated 200 to 300 homes and businesses and their owners in Middleton, and the financial incentives for others to go solar. The proposed changes will slow rooftop solar growth by raising rates, hurt those employed in the solar industry by reducing demand, make it harder for local nonprofits, governments, and school districts, including ours, to go solar and achieve clean energy goals while recouping expenses over time, worsen energy costs, which are a major burden for low-income families, make it more difficult for low and moderate income families to benefit from rooftop solar, affect the ability to reach broader climate goals for the county and the state, and finally, make a degrading environmental situation even worse than it has already become by putting solar beyond the reach of some potential adopters. So before I close, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the council, the mayor, and State Senator Diane Hesselbein, Representatives Mike Bear, sorry, and Alex Jors for attending, and their public service. That includes all of you, and urge you all to up the game with respect to climate change. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during public comments, and anybody online that wishes to speak? Hearing none. Let's go ahead and do the presentation from Senator Hesselbein, Representative Bear, and Representative Jowers on legislative updates.
Hi, everyone. It is so great to be here. Oh my goodness, you too. And then I'll turn everything over. Does that sound right? I'm sure George gets it. He'll enjoy it. Anyway, great to see so many familiar faces, and also to a new face who's not new to me, but new to the council. Congratulations. Anyway, it's great to be here in Middleton. Alex, Mike, and I are pretty darn happy today. We just got back from the investiture of Justice Janet Protasiewicz. And it was a great investiture at the Capitol in the Rotunda, and looking forward to her service. But it was very moving and wonderful. So if we can't stop smiling, that's why. Wanted to just update you with a little bit. We all work on a myriad of issues, just like all of you do. One of the things I wanted to talk a little bit is about shared revenue. Certainly, we're excited about what the city of Middleton is going to be getting, and we're very interested in how you're going to be spending that. We think it's great. We're really excited when Governor Evers put out his proposal, and disappointed with what the Republicans did. None of us voted for the bill. Although we're happy that you're going to get a bump, it still wasn't enough. And we still thought we could have done a lot better. I put a little bit about education funding in there as well, because people always care. And I know you work so closely with the school board, so you can see a little bit of what happened there with the education portion. So after we passed the budget, which include the shared revenue, we're still working. People think like we're on recess, like Congress or something. It's never like that. We're still having meetings. We're still having committee hearings. We're still working. I'm still meeting with constituents about bills that are important to them. And so are Representative George and Representative Bear. But I'm going to turn it over a little bit because I got to share the mic and I believe in these guys. I can't tell you how fortunate I am to work with them. They represent Middleton really well. And honestly, our offices get along. Whenever there's a constituent issue, we all work together to help those people get the resolution that they need. So with that, I will toss it over to Representative Joyce.
You all, it's so nice to be here with you. And I'm so honored to be able to work with you all on the local level. I think I've at least had a conversation or worked with you all or taught your kids or done something with all of you. So I appreciate it. I get to talk to you about childcare and the status of it in our state. That has been one of the most impressing issues that we've been hearing about, I think, from the three of our offices this budget cycle. As you know, and as your sheet says, we had the Child Care Counts program that was started during the pandemic to kind of lift up our childcare industry that, to be honest, was already struggling in our state and really across the nation. So we saw that funding go to childcare providers to support families so that they could, one, get through the pandemic, but now that we're starting to get out of it, make sure that they're supported further with that federal funding that was necessary. That was going to be continued in our state budget process with a $340 million support that was going to be passed in the budget. Unfortunately, our Republican colleagues did not see fit to fund that, cutting it completely out of the budget. And as you see, there were a lot of supports for this. There were people contacting our office daily wanting us to support this program. So that's what we're continuing to push for in the legislature. They did decide to put a mere $15 million. I know it sounds like a lot, but in reality, when it's being shared across the state, it's not. So that's fortunate to Governor Evers' veto. It's being able to be spent in grants. So obviously we'll be sharing information with you all when that becomes available, because I've heard from folks in your districts and in mine, our shared constituents that are concerned about this. We've had providers in Dane County, 2 of them just closed last month. So this is something that we need to focus on. And I'm here to report that we're going to continue working on it. But if you as council members hear about your constituents having issues with this, please let me know. Let us know so that we can continue to uplift their stories. So you can continue to look at that, and I'll be sharing more information, but I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Mike Bear.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Diane. I think the fortune is ours, not yours, to have your help and mentorship getting accustomed to this difficult job that you did so well for so long in the Assembly and now in the Senate. It's great to work with you and your team to do this job. And same with Alex, trying to figure out which house is where in Middleton on the maps can be a challenge, but we're figuring it out. And great to be in front of a city council. That was my first step in my political journey in the Verona City Council when Bill Burns was our city administrator, when things were going very, very well for us. So Verona's lost, Middleton's gain. Good to see you again, old friend. And so I get to talk about something that's actually good news that we've done in the legislature, which is kind of hard to find, which is on affordable housing. We put $525 million into the budget this time to do a number of good things on housing. good programs at WIDA. I'm on the housing committee and had a couple amendments that actually passed, which is unusual for a Democrat to do something on one of these committees. And so made it a little bit better and got this amount of money, which was actually about half of what the Republicans started talking about. The other half went into a tax cut that got vetoed. So now we still have more money to spend should we choose to do so. 4 billion, I think, is still the surplus that we've got to spend possibly somehow, some way. But these housing programs, I think we can all be happy about these. I know it's an issue for Middleton trying to find dollars to build into the financial stacks for affordable housing for new developments. And all of these are focused on both new housing and rehab of old housing, commercial to residential and Main Street housing, which has been a challenge all across the state and certainly around Dane County as well. So we did something good, which is great. We also passed Assembly Bill 96, which Brian came and testified in favor of at the committee. Middleton is privileged to be struggling with the amount of TIF that you've got. And this was one thing that would help increase your possible use of TIF. I don't know how much of a chance this bill has in the Senate with Diane's colleagues who are not so favorable to TIFs, but we can at least be hopeful that maybe it makes its way somehow in the future. So good news on housing and hopefully more to come. There is more money to spend, and it's something that there's bipartisan agreement on doing. So I think we can take questions and
And we have some bills that we're working on and have worked on for constituents. Certainly there was a Middleton bill. These are, I'd say, smaller bills, right? I'd like to do Medicaid expansion. I push for that every 2 years. I will continue to push for that for our state, but we can get some small things done that Mike talked about. One thing was we got school board members contacted us and wanted to be able to volunteer to drive a school bus. As you know, our school districts, they're lost all their bus drivers. Is this the most exciting bill to get done in the state? No, but it got done and it's going to be signed on Friday. So it's really nice to give that opportunity to people to serve their community in a variety of ways. Somebody else that Alex and I worked really closely with, Wanakee, her son died of fentanyl poisoning due to that, and her wonderful advocacy work, we were able to get Narcan in every single one of our schools, K-12, and our colleges and universities, both private and public. So that was a big lift, but we were able to do that thanks to her bravery, and Michelle Coleman and her son died. So there are other things that we meet with people all the time. Mental health funding is one that I think I've had meetings with both of them. People are coming in, schools, areas, people looking for help with that. But just to kind of reiterate, and since it's alive, we work for you. So if there are things that we can do to help the people in Middleton or things that you're hearing, please let us partner with you so we can be part of a solution together. And with that, does anybody have any questions?
I'm really excited that you all are sharing, and we have the hot topics tonight of transportation and childcare and housing. So thank you for those updates and budgets, obviously. Does any of the councilmen have any questions, or have you heard from constituents on any of these issues? I was going to say at Doors, Alder Jackson and I heard about childcare from one woman specifically. So we went back and talked with her, but I'll go dig up that address and that way you guys can have it. But to my knowledge, I think we're pretty good. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Thank you so much, and let us know. We had Jim Pulvermacher here before, and he came forward and talked to Dave Considine, Representative Considine. It's like another representative, right? Doesn't have Middleton, but right next door. And he was able to talk to us about a quarry provision that was in the shared revenue bill that would let blasting happen regardless of if it was for a public or a private project. And because he came to my office, I was able to work with Republicans and get that pulled out. So kind of let us know if you see something really great that you're excited about in the news or something you're really worried about. Let us know, because that's what we want to do.
Thank you so much. And we really
Thank you.
appreciate your collaboration.
Thank you. And thank you for your service, you guys. You rock. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda as recommended to council by committee, commission, and board. As listed in the agenda, the Middleton Common Council minutes, the audit of the bills to be paid as recommended by finance, review of the city's investment policy.
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
would like to move approval of the consent agenda minus item number 3, which needs further discussion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that. Mrs. Wilkus.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, items 1 and 2, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving to the third item, review of city's investment policy. Do I hear a motion?
Yes, on behalf of the Finance Committee, I move to approve the investment policy based on the Government Finance Officers Association Best Practices and Sample Policy, last reviewed and approved on April 20th, 2021, and that we amend Section 7G to prohibit the city from investing in cryptocurrency. And we approve Exhibit B, the list of public depositories and brokers dated August 1st, 2023.
Do I have a second?
Schaefer, second.
For the record, Schaefer? Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the review of the city's investment policy with all of the items annotated for change by Alder Haniro, please say aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to agreements, we're starting with Stormwater Management System Maintenance Agreement with Greenway Station, SPE LLC, Cooper's Hawk Site, PC 1849. Do I have a motion?
This is Wilkus. I'll make a motion that we approve the stormwater management system maintenance agreement with Greenway Station.
Do I have a second?
This is Jackson. I second that motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the Stormwater Management System Maintenance Agreement with Greenway Station, SPE, please say aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to award a bid, quote, and professional service. The first one is to accept the quote from Integral Building Systems in an amount of $24,101 for key scan access control at the Middleton Operations Center. Do I have a motion?
Yes, this is Haniro. I move that we accept the quote pending city attorney approval.
Do I have a second?
This is Jackson. I second that motion.
Any discussion? I'm sorry, that was funny. All right, all those in favor of accepting the quote from Integral Building Systems in an amount of $24,101 for key scan access control at the Middleton Operations Center, pending a city attorney approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to CSM plat. Number 1, final plat, Red Tail Ridge Phase 1. Do I have a motion?
This is Wilkus. I move that we defer to the August 16th meeting,
Do I
or
have?
August 15th, excuse me.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
This is Haniro. I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of deferring the final plat of Red Tail Ridge Phase 1 to the August 15th meeting, please say aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Ordinances first reading. Number 1, rezoning from R3A High Density Residential to Planned Development District General Implementation Plan, PDD, GIP, Castle Rock redevelopment at 6414, 6418 University Avenue and 2009 Lakeview Avenue.
This is Haniro. I'd like to move approval with the contingencies noted in the staff memo. And Brian or Bill, can someone show us the contingencies, please? There are 10.
While you're looking at that, do I have a second?
Schaefer, second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can everybody see that? Okay.
Thank you. That's
Page
better.
84, right?
We are numbered. Okay. So if everyone has a chance to look at those. So I made the motion, Alder Schaefer seconded, and I'll just mention if I might,
Discussion, go ahead.
yep, that commercial space on the ground floor is something that is the developer is tentatively interested in it. I don't think the plan commission would have denied this rezoning request if they did not want to incorporate commercial space on the ground floor. But it would be consistent with the future designation as avenue mixed use to have that mixed use. So if members of council feel strongly that we should require the incorporation of commercial use on the ground floor, I would be willing to consider that. But I could take it the way it is.
Alder Nelson?
I have a question for Alder Haniro. Do you know how many units of housing we would lose if we did commercial on the?
I'm
Do
phoning
you
a
want
friend.
to call the developer up to the front or the architect to answer that question? It's an excellent question.
It is.
Jeff Brinkus with GBA Architecture, 2248 Deming Way. We would lose probably just that one 2-bedroom unit, which is approximately 1,000 square feet.
And how many retail spaces would that, or commercial spaces would that offer?
That would probably just have like a very small single retail, maybe a coffee shop, or maybe a unit for personal trainer or something of that nature.
Something around like 1,200 square feet, or what are we talking about?
1,000 is
1,000.
Mhm.
Speaking as a personal trainer who has her own place, that kind of space is really hard to find in this city, and I think it would be in big demand. I think it would be great. So thanks.
Well, thank you for that.
My,
Sorry, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
my only
Alder.
concern would be the in and out of a small commercial space right there, just because of the location of the property on that corner and the traffic along University. I'm afraid that if we require all of these developments along University to have commercial space, we're going to end up with quite a few empty commercial spaces. I just think that's something to keep in mind as more of these come along that corridor, that we don't end up with requiring commercial space that ends up vacant. Because 1,000 square feet for a retail space is quite small. It is niche. We've had this conversation, I know, but at the same time, it's quite small. And 2-bedroom units, I don't know. I have a feeling that they would do well in Middleton. So I'm okay with it as it stands, but I understand your argument.
Yeah.
Alder Cole, and then Alder Schaefer.
Yeah, my question is not related to the retail space, and again, my newness, this may not be the right time in the process to ask this question, but it was questions I've asked of other projects. Just curious as to how you plan to handle like the transition for the current tenants to, are they being offered location, just what's happening with the 25 residents?
The developer is working with the tenants inherently during construction. They would have to be moving out anyway, because there's that 12 to 14 month process of the build. But I do know that they are working with the tenants. What that looks like, I couldn't say exactly. But I would like to maybe kind of go back one comment and apologize if did that kind of address that.
Yeah, I guess just also then the change in market rate, are they
Yeah, there is definitely one of the more affordable areas and rent in that region.
So will there be assistance to help them find comparable housing or in this
I
displacement?
think that is a possibility, and I know that Tom and Julio are both kind of working with the current tenants. Just kind of stepping back, it is our concern as well, that corner with the parking and how we would utilize a space like that. And certainly our biggest concern too is having a retail space that is not utilized to its fullest possibility. So, and a 2-bedroom, yes, that is taking a 2-bedroom out of service in that area. So.
You did say you were going to step back. Was it on the business comment or was that to Alder Coles?
That was going back to the.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Alder Schaefer.
Yeah, I was on the plan commission when this first came up. And I just want to reiterate what Jennifer's saying about the people who were there. We have so little low income housing. And to just simply erase those people from the equation is very problematic. And I was pushing it then and I'll push it now that I really hope you do whatever you can to help those people relocate. The other thing, just a compliment, thank you for taking off the big back wing, because that was one of our major concerns. And it's nice to see that you actually listened to that concern and did something about it. So
I appreciate it.
I'm in the middle of the road on the commercial. I'd like to see it, but it's not critical.
Alder Schaefer, I appreciate you sharing that back wing comment. That was my initial thought. I was the alder before and Alder Cole has taken that over. So props to you for that. And thanks to Plan Commission for working. Thank you for working with them.
I had
Any
one
Alderman
more
Iro?
question before you leave, Jeff. So the 1,000 square foot unit on the first floor that would be commercial space, that is not 1/3 of the ground floor's gross floor area, correct? Okay,
No.
so even if you did that, this still would not meet the technical definition of avenue mixed use, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Yep. And I would note for Alder Vocus's benefit that the residents who showed up at the Plan Commission to speak to this did mention concerns about parking just for the apartments themselves, and the addition of commercial space was an additional concern. And I think we can all envision like that perfect little coffee shop. I even asked, would residents in the building have access from within the building to get into that space? Because wouldn't that be a dream to have a coffee shop in your building or a studio for Pilates or yoga or something? But I am aware of at least one development, not in Middleton, where that for ground floor space did not get developed and was turned back into apartments. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right. Thank you for the robust discussion on that, everyone. Now, can you remind me what your motion was?
Sure. Well, the motion was to approve the rezoning from R3A to PDD GIP for the Castle Rock development at 6414 through 6418 University Avenue and 2009 Lakeview Avenue, with the 10 contingencies that are now returning to the screen.
Excellent. All those in favor, I'm talking slow so you can make it bigger.
Can I I don't know do we have to make part of this particular discussion whether or not we want to require that commercial space?
I will tell you the original staff report indicated a possible contingency would be to ask for the developer to consider developing commercial space. And we did not incorporate that. We didn't discuss it at the Plan Commission meeting. And in retrospect, requiring the developer to consider doing something is not much of a contingency. I mean, they can say we did it. Like I said, we would not have, I don't think we would have denied the request if the commercial space was not going to be a part of it. I'm comfortable with it the way it is, but if you want to make a motion to add that, we can see how the rest of council feels.
I don't. I think that these folks know their project and I'll let them decide what's best for them.
So this is still at the GIP stage?
Yep.
Project.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate that conversation and I hope the developer and the architect thinks through these things.
First
So
time.
all those in favor of approving the rezoning from R3A to plan development District GIP, Castle Rock redevelopment, 6414, 6418 University Avenue, and 2009 Lakeview Avenue. Please, with the 10 contingencies, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Ordinances, second reading. Number 1, the ordinance change of 15.10 to prohibit left turns from Old Creek Road onto Century Avenue. Do I have a motion?
This is Wokus. I move approval of the ordinance change of 15.10.1.
Do I have a second?
This is Jackson. I second that motion.
Any discussion?
Yeah, excuse me. Just noticing as I was reading it over for the umpteenth time, in the title, I think after the word southbound, the title is missing the word from. So it's an ordinance to prohibit left turn southbound from Old Creek Road at Century Avenue. The text is fine, but yeah, it reads a little clumsily. I'm not proposing for amendment, but if anybody agrees with me, they could do that.
I read through that several times too, until I figured out what you're trying to say.
I think I would put a comma after southbound.
Yeah.
Okay, so is that an official amendment?
Do I need to amend my initial motion then? I will amend my initial motion to approve the ordinance with the slight change of adding from after the word southbound in the
And-
title of the ordinance.
Thank you. And Alder Jackson, do you
I
concur?
second that motion.
Thank you so much. Any other discussion?
Can I just clarify that with you, Larry? Should it be from southbound Old Creek? Because
That's
the
my
left,
That might even be better.
because it's off of Old Creek, turning left onto Century. When you turn left onto Century there, you'd be going east.
Yeah, because you'd be turning eastbound then. Yeah.
Whatever
So
you think the
you're-
right place is.
It's
That's
from
fine.
southbound traffic
Yeah.
Yes.
on Old Creek Road, turning left. So it's
Okay.
from southbound Old Creek. Sorry, I should have.
Good change.
Okay, one more time.
Yeah, I will move approval of ordinance 15.101 to approval with the change that the title read, an ordinance to prohibit left turns from southbound Old Creek Road at Century Avenue.
Alder Jackson, do you concur?
I concur.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor of approving ordinance change 15.101 to prohibit left turns from Old Creek Road onto Century Avenue with amended changes recommended, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to ordinance change of 15.042 to prohibit parking on Parmenter Street from Terrace Avenue North to the railroad tracks. Do I have a motion?
This is Wokus. I move approval of the change of the ordinance.
This is Cole. I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I was confused in reading this because it uses the word northerly and sometimes it says up to the tracks. And I will only support this if it goes all the way up to the tracks. Because one car in there is just going to screw everything up. So the wording is unclear to me as to the meaning of this change. Maybe somebody could clarify.
Staff, can you explain or provide better language if possible?
Sure. The one side, the east side already was in ordinance, but was not signed consistent with the ordinance. But the intention is that it would be from Terrace Avenue to the railroad tracks. That whole stretch would be no parking on both sides of the road.
That's the other point of confusion in your diagram. You kept showing the no parking from this point on. You kept showing the old signs, which implied the parking was only from the middle of the block to Terrace Avenue. I don't know if you can bring up.
I don't recall that. Yeah.
There
it is.
Yeah, no parking here to corner. There's the signs in the middle of the block. So that was another point of confusion.
Yeah, I think that was the
I mean, that's
plan view at the time. And the intention of this, I think, was included really to show the relationship between the train tracks and the new median.
Yeah.
Not as much the parking signs,
So
but
that sign
that'll
was also
be,
confusing.
yeah, no parking from the corner to the tracks.
Okay.
Just as point of information, I don't know whatever, how you're supposed to say it, but it's standard language in the ordinances. It's to use that sort of northerly, easterly,
Yeah,
westerly. So it's pretty common in the ordinance itself that they all kind of read that way.
All right.
So
Maybe we can change that one in the future.
we'll put that into the ordinance audit.
There we go.
Well, it's in the existing ordinance, so.
Yeah.
Well, northerly is an adjective, you know, it's not a verb, so whatever.
I love this robust discussion and I'm always learning.
And in addition, if
especially
yours
from-
headed south on it, doesn't, right, it would be from the tracks to Terrace Avenue.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that.
But you're right, then it should probably be amended to read that way.
Alder Hanero.
Just wondering, Sean, is the curb going to be painted yellow in this whole stretch in addition to the signage?
That's the intention, but it may already have.
It's
It
already
is
yellow.
already
I
painted,
saw it
yeah.
On
today.
both sides?
It's already yellow.
On both sides.
Okay.
But the old sign's still sitting there. in the middle.
Yeah, and I think they put a bunch of temps up in cones for now.
Well, and as we talked about in Public Works, the yellow on a curb is, what did you call it? It's a recommend, it's considered, it's not a parking ordinance. It's a,
Yeah, it doesn't have any particular enforcement weight to it. It's effectively a reminder of what's in statute and ordinance. So when someone says, you know, there's yellow curb near a fire hydrant or not, you still can't park in front of a fire hydrant. If it's covered with snow, really doesn't matter.
Well, I think Chief Hellenbrand was on before, so he's probably happy that you're reminding everyone of said rules.
There you go.
You know, those small things in life.
point of order, question. Do we need to amend the ordinance so it reads Parmenter Street, both sides from Terrace Avenue to the railroad tracks and take out the northerly since it is
I would
both
appreciate
sides?
that. I think that clarifies it, since that's what it seemed to mean anyway.
If we're on the second reading, does this take it back to a first reading?
No.
Okay,
All right, so
so I would like to amend my motion to approve the ordinance change with the language to be as follows: Parmenter Street, both sides from Terrace Avenue to the railroad tracks.
And I would concur.
thank you.
Yep.
All right, any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the ordinance change of 15.042 to prohibit parking on Parmenter Street from Terrace Avenue North to the railroad tracks with the amended language as stated by Alder Wilkes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to resolutions. Resolutions 2023-42, amending the 2023 capital project budget to reallocate funds for access control at the Middleton Operations Center.
On behalf of Finance, I move approval of the resolution.
Do I have a second?
This is Jackson. I second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the resolution 2023-42, amending the 2023 capital project budget to reallocate funds for access control at the Middleton Operations Center, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Number two, resolution 2023-43, authorizing the use of general contingency for cost to intervene in 2023 Madison gas and electric rate case. Do I have a motion?
This is Haniro. I move approval of resolution 2023-43 as recommended by Finance.
Do I have a second?
This is Wilkes, I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving resolution 2023-43, authorizing the use of general contingency for cost to intervene in 2023 Madison gas and electric rate case, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Next is discussion, council member and mayor reports on city committees, commissions, and boards. Alder Wilkes?
I just wanted to mention briefly, we talked about it at the last meeting, but it didn't make it on the minutes, that there's still a vacant position on the Pleasant View Golf Advisory Committee.
Thank you for sharing that. We are working through a couple of openings still. I've started to get some applications, not for golf yet, but I appreciate the reminder. Alder Jackson.
This is Alder Jackson. Just bringing a report from the Landmarks Committee. There was some concern from the whole Chunk Nation about their mounds and having them designated with plates and upkept. When I brought it up in the Landmarks the state historical representative was there, and the whole room was gung-ho about hearing about it. She had mentioned that she felt that it was a disrespect. She drove by and people were dancing all over the mounds because they're not designated. And she asked that the city do something about it to get a mark, get updated plates, the groundskeeping as well. Like I said, I brought it to the Landmarks Committee. They were all like, hey, let's do it, how we get it done. So I figured I'd bring it up tonight. Whoever sits on Parks to try to bring it up in your meeting and get back with Landmarks, get back with myself and see what we can do to get this done. TNT, especially when she said it was a disrespect to the whole Chuck Nation to have people dancing on top of the mounds. But a lot of people don't know their mounds. They think look like big rocks.
This is the mound on Mound Street?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Given the name, I've been there. I know what it is.
Okay.
Alder Jackson, you and I are going to meet anyway, and I'm on Parks. So
Okay.
Well, I'm glad you're collaborating and cooperating together.
And Daphne is like, she's waiting for us to get back to, like I said, she's gung-ho, Landmarks is gung-ho, whatever we can do.
this is Daphne Zhu.
Yes.
Great.
And it's Elizabeth, I think, who sits on our commission. She's from the State Historical Society.
Great.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know it, there is a sign, but it's just, if you're not looking for it, you might not see it. And it's very overgrown. And most times I've been there, it's very mosquito ridden and not the kind of place you would enjoy hanging out. And, I'm just the attorney, but that's not the typical level of maintenance of mounds.
Yeah. Where is that again?
It's on the end of Mound Street. So it's in the east part of the city. In fact, one of the proposals we had today, which one was it?
Mound
Shows
Drive.
Mound Street going. It's almost at the dead end of Mound Street on the north side.
Alder Coles district.
Right.
I thought they put a new sign there last year.
Not when I did tours.
Because we had a meeting and the Landmarks had a meeting with the Historical Society and they were working on some mapping of it.
Well, if it's there, like I said, Elizabeth from the State Historical Society said it's just not well kept. It's not visible to stop people from climbing up and dancing on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some other places in the city that look like mounds. Now they could just be leftover construction. I'm not aware of if we have them, how many we have in the city. So it might be an opportunity to learn besides the one on Mound. There's some, I think I heard once from Alder Sullivan that there were some at a park in his district. I haven't been there, so I'm not sure if that's true.
Under whose jurisdiction is the mound?
The
When I was on
nation.
Parks, we never came up that mounds were part of the park.
The Historical Society has the one on Mound Street.
Yeah, so they would technically be the one in charge of maintaining.
Yeah.
On the subject of mounds, I would love it if the Landmarks Commission could work with the state to figure out where to map or get a map, I'm sure one exists, of all the mounds in Middleton, because I know near Graver Pond, there's something that looks like a mound and it has a sign talking about mounds, but it doesn't say you're looking at a mound. So it could just be very coincidental that the sign is there. Or it could be a mound that is not being maintained or designated as such. So that would be wonderful if you could check on that.
Point of information, Mayor. We have Daphne Shu on the Zoom call she has her hand raised.
Oh, my apologies. Daphne, can you talk to us?
You're not seeing her.
I see it over here.
Hey, Daphne, we're not seeing your, there we go.
Hello, can you see? Oh, sorry, my camera is off. Hello, sorry, I'm in my blanket because it's cold at home. But yeah, I can answer any questions about mounds. There are several other mounds in the city. I believe there's one like off of Woodland Trail, which is north. It's just off of Lake Mendota to the north of Lake Mendota. And then there's several near Mendota County Park, which is, I know, outside of the city, but then also kind of along, just along the lake, there are several mounds. And then I believe on Fredericks Hill in Pheasant Branch Conservancy, there is also a mound. And I think that was the one that was most of concern with people walking on it and kind of experiencing some damage to that area. And so those are, all areas of the city, they are protected under the Wisconsin Historical Society, especially the ones on, private land north of Lake Mendota. However, just updating signage, getting people to know that, they exist and they're in the city and that they are protected. I think that's the main goal that we're trying to work on right now.
Great. Thank you, Daphne. That's
Thank
a
you,
great
Daphne.
update. Yeah. Great. And thank you for reminding us about Graver Pond. I'll have to come over and see it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alder Heather.
I just had two updates from my committees, Ped Bike and Transit. We met last week. I'm really happy to say that Red Tail Ridge will be the first development in the city to incorporate raised crosswalks as part of our complete streets policy. And also the committee talked about budget requests like so many of our committees are doing. And one of the things that is going to be included in our request for 2024 is updating the bike and pedestrian plan, which is an action in the comprehensive plan. And it also will help bolster our case to renew our designation as a bicycle friendly community. And then Public Works, I had asked that we reviewed budget requests. I asked for a rectangular rapid flashing beacon to be included in the budget next year. And I think Ped Bike and Transit would do a great job making a recommendation to council for where to put it. I think we need one at Pheasant Branch Road and Gaylord Nelson, but I know other alders might have areas in their districts where they could use an improvement to crossing safety. And I was wondering if Alder Schaefer, since he's officially our representative from council on the Ped Bike and Transit Committee, if we could forward our suggestions to him for relaying to the
Please
committee.
do, and now that I'm home,
Yeah.
I'll actually do this committee.
And then also, we've reviewed vehicles that were on the list for possible purchase. And I'd like to reiterate something that my constituent Kevin Spittler mentioned, and that is how important it is to follow the sustainable purchasing policy when internal combustion engine vehicles are proposed. That policy does require the staff to consider the life cycle costs of vehicle purchases, not just the initial purchase price. Since EVs have lower fuel costs and lower maintenance costs, it's really important to consider the life cycle costs of vehicles. And then finally, I'm excited that we packaged together a bunch of projects, smaller projects that are in the vicinity of Allen Boulevard and Century Avenue. Those items we put into one big project to redesign what is probably the most dangerous intersection for pedestrians and bikes in all of Middleton. So I'm really hoping that gets funded in 2024.
That's great. I'm just going to look at Alder Cole and help a little. I think you're on public safety. I don't know if they've met.
We've not had a meeting.
Okay, so as a friendly reminder, because I used to be on that committee, they're having National Night Out tomorrow night.
Okay.
And so if members of the public are listening, please join Alder Cole at Lakeview Park tomorrow night and all of our public safety friends. Anybody else? Alder Lorman?
Airport had a busy past week with the Air Venture and the Rock the Ramp event, all quite successful and incident free. Conservancy Lands is in the process of I think the best way to put it is we're working on the budget and prioritizing what will eventually come through. So no new updates from Airport Commission because our meeting will be this Thursday. And As far as maybe things that the council is interested in, of course, is always probably the progress more along the lines of unleaded fuel and unleaded fuel development. And I was up at Oshkosh and did make a point to visit people who are involved in the industry and advocacy for the aviation side of this. And I had a chat with a couple people. And in the biggest picture of things, I think we're still very much on track for a target date of 2030 of seeing an unleaded fuel solution in the aviation industry. It's complex, it's complicated in terms of why you can't, use different fuels in airplanes. But long story short is leads in fuel to increase the octane, which is simply necessary for high performance piston powered aircraft. And those are the ones that consume a majority of the fuel out there. So, and there's a variety of formulations out there, and there's a variety of paths to getting these fuels approved and safe for operation in airplanes. There's two paths that are taking place, and that one is a certification on an individual basis through the manufacturer specific to individual airplanes. One group is going that direction. And then there's an initiative that the FAA has sort of taken on themselves. They're trying to take a more blanket approach to it. And there is, really not alignment with that. But on the other side, the businesses that are producing and developing unleaded fuels, the goal is that it'll all be fungible or mixable down the road. So 2030, just, yeah, that's what we're shooting for.
Anybody else? Thank you for the wonderful topic updates. Sounds like we're getting busy with all those committees. And welcome back to Alder Schaefer. So we'll hear from you in a couple of weeks.
Yes, you will.
All right. So the next part is to convene into closed session. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to convene into closed session.
Do I have a second?
This is Wilkes, I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those.
We do a roll call.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Alder Schaefer,
Yes.
Alder Wilkes,
Yes.
Alder Cole,
Yes.
Mayor Kuhn,
Yes.
Alder Nelson,
Yes.
Alder Jackson,
Yes.
Alder Hanairo,
Yes.
Alder Lorman,
Yes.
Alder Cole,
Yes,
sorry, Alder Crow, my apologies.
that's what I thought you meant.
Motion carries.